A biblical perspective on life, culture and current events. This is 2020 on Vision.
A few years ago, I had the pleasure of standing on the Areopagus in Athens in the very spot Paul stood when he addressed the prominent men of Athens. And as I looked across the city, I wondered to myself, how many people now know Jesus in this city, the city that once had a visit from the Apostle Paul? Well, joining us today is an Australian director of a ministry called Passage to Life, and they minister in Athens and across Greece. And Jim Bellis joins us now. Jim, welcome.
Thanks, Andrew.
Jim, as I said in the introduction, when I stood on the Areopagus a few years ago and I looked across the whole city of Athens, and it's an amazing view from up there, I did wonder how many of these people actually know Jesus. What would you estimate as far as the number of believers are in modern-day Greece as a percentage who actually know Jesus?
1 in 200 would go to a born-again church.
Okay, so about 0.5%.
Yeah, that's it. That's a figure that's been thrown around for years.
Yeah, it's not many, is it?
No, it's not many at all. And considering that all the epistles were written to Greek churches, and the gospel leaving Israel went into the Greco-Roman world, right across the Mediterranean, and now the gospel has receded.
Yeah, well, modern-day Turkey, of course, is where Ephesus was, and which was called Asia Minor in Bible days. And again, the church flourished in Asia Minor, and today, not many Christians in Turkey. It's actually a warning for those of us in the West who just assume that we are Christianized nations and that we'll always be Christianized, because obviously the hearts of the people in Ephesus and in Asia Minor and in Greece obviously turned away from the Lord. They became religious and traditional and just following, the methods or the traditions of Christianity, but the Lord left them. And so it's a warning to the Western world today, isn't it?
Yeah, and in mission circles, they talk about the 1040 window, and Greece is one of the nations that is in the 1040 window, the most unevangelized nations, not only in Europe, but across the face of the earth.
Man, isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
But the good...
It's come a long way down. It's come a long way down.
Yeah, well, like I said, the warning is to America and Europe, and well, look at Britain now. I mean, Britain was once the nation that sent the most missionaries around the world in the 19th century to India and China and throughout Africa. David Livingstone is buried in Westminster Abbey because of his missionary endeavours. And you look at Britain now and you just think, oh boy, what's happened? And what's happened is people left the Lord, didn't they? They stopped going to church. They chose the different lifestyle without God, and here they are now. It's a nation with not as many Christians in it, that's for sure. And
it's horrendous. The Western, in my lifetime, I've never seen. I couldn't dream what's going on now, and they're both in the church and in society. There's apostasy in the church, and there's corruption in the church and society.
Yeah, there certainly is. But the good news is that even though Greece is only 0.5% Christian in a born again church or evangelical church, there are ministries there doing things, and one of them is Passage to Life. So tell us what Passage to Life does in Greece today.
In the heart of Athens is a drug rehab centre, a 3-story drug rehab with a rooftop. And there's young drug addicts come in there, they spend time there to get rehabilitated, and they get taught in Christianity, and they come out saved. And when I was there, because my link with the Passage to Life, I went on an outreach to the Greek islands, and I used to I went to a square with Elias where druggies were openly mainlining. And what happened was that I got to go to the cafe that they have in the rehab centre and meet these Greek young people. And some of them have really come to know the Lord, and they're sharing their faith with others. Many don't come to know the Lord. One lady I love going when I go to Greece, I bump into a lady, Joanna, and she was a 14-year-old prostitute under a syndicate, a men's syndicate, which used to hire her out at 14. And if you saw her face before she was converted, she had black colouring around under her eyes on her face, and she looked like the devil. I kid you not, Andrew. Whenever I bump into her, I can't think. I know people who've got the joy of the Lord outwardly and they really shine, but when I see Joanna, I think she's the greatest person in my life that I've ever come across, where her face beams for Jesus. And Passage to Life found her in a park and led her to the Lord. She became a Christian, went to Bible college, and then married a Polish refugee Christian, and has been teaching religious education in her church, like a Sunday school in her church.
Wow.
For the last 30 years.
Amazing. What an amazing testimony, huh?
Amazing testimony, yeah.
And so it just proves God is always working, that we can never write anyone off or any nation off for that matter, just because there's not a lot of Christians in Greece. God's still moving. And so Passage to Life deals in the drug area. So is drug use on the rise in modern-day Greece? Yeah,
because Greece is in the EU, and the EU is getting really spiffy now and good living. So because of the affluence, Greek young people are turning to drugs. The other thing is Greece is the doorway to Europe, and much hash comes across the Aegean Sea from Turkey. And there's very few in Greece involved in solving the problem, both from the general society and from the Orthodox churches or even from the born-again churches. And the other thing, as you mentioned before, Western missions overlook Greece, as it often does, other countries in Europe. If you talk to missionaries in the English-speaking world, they don't target Europe so much, and including Greece, they don't target it.
Yeah, well, most people associate it with a holiday destination. I think if you told people in the Western church, I'm going on a missions trip to the Greek islands, they'd think you're having a laugh.
Exactly, and yet I've been with Elias. One of their things you can plug into is go on a short-term mission and outreach to the Greek islands or to the mainland. And look, you do have a good time. It's a lot of fun, but on the other hand, it's got its challenges because a lot of Greek people can give you a hard time when you're witnessing to them. But on the other hand, it's really great to share the gospel. And what they do when they go out on these outreaches, they have a time. They get Greek young people from the rehab centre to get up and share how they got free of drugs, because there's a government policy of anti-drug policy, and they want answers to this problem. And I've been on an island where Greek young people from the rehab centre got up and they shared how the Lord liberated them totally from it.
Wow, that's another great testimony, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's that's a great testimony. And people think of Greece as a holiday destination, but what people can do is they go over to Greece for a holiday. They can drop into the cafe of the rehab centre and say hello to Elias and his family.
Yep.
And go on one of these short-term missions and outreaches in Athens or the Greek islands or mainland.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a good idea to me. I'm not going to say no to it, Jim. I'll just ask God if He'll let me go. Because I guess, like anywhere, if you really got into God on a trip to Greece, sure, it's a beautiful place and the islands and the stunning backdrops and the scenery. But yeah, if you got into God, you'd soon realize you're in a very dark place spiritually, and it'd be a real spiritual battle, I can imagine, to preach the gospel effectively there in modern day Greece. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the other good fact that I can't believe this, that there's another mission who I used to be linked with called the Hellenic Ministries, and this is the upside, as you're saying, there's always upsides. They have taken Bibles to every home in Greece. No other nation in the world has presented a Bible to every home in their country. Even the Western world, the English-speaking world, there's no country in the world who's done that. So that's positive.
That's amazing. Every home in Greece has received a Bible.
Yeah, this mission I was linked with, called Hellenic Ministries, I think they had about 400 people from around the world, and they in the siesta, when the Greek people were sleeping, they'd leave a bag of a Bible in modern Greek and tracts. and they took that to every single home in Greece.
Gee, when was that, Jim? How long ago?
It just finished about a couple of years ago. And they did it over a 10-year period.
Amazing.
Yeah,
So once again, God is working over there. So this Rehab Centre Cafe, so that's in Athens. So if people are going to Athens on a holiday or on their way through Greece for whatever reason, if they just Google search the Rehab Centre Cafe, does it just come up fairly prominently on a Google search?
It does. You just Google www.passagetolife.gr.
Okay. passagetolife.gr, and that's how they find the Rehab Centre Cafe. And so through that website, passagetolife.gr, they can find out more information about the Rehab Centre and the work God is doing there. But Jim, you were also a missionary in Greece yourself for a number of years. What is the response to the gospel there? What does the average Greek person think when you start preaching the gospel? Do they start saying, well, I'm Greek Orthodox, I'm okay?
Yeah, well, we had these guys who were pretty educated, and we were sharing the gospel with them. And to give you a little bit of an understanding, the Greeks think that their denomination, the Orthodox, is the best over church history. No one beats it, because there was a guy called Constantine. And so what happened was that they, in Constantinople, which is modern-day Istanbul, that's where Orthodoxy started. And he was the father of the Eastern Roman Empire based there. So the Roman Catholics based in Rome, they took from Constantine, and so they say that the Catholics took from them. The ultimate church father, which the Catholics and the Orthodox look to, is Constantine. So now what happens is we walk along, and they said to us, who are you guys? Oh, no, you aren't these born-again Protestants. You guys came down in the last shower with Martin Luther.
Wow!
So they think the Catholic guys aren't that good in the Christian world, in the church world, and the Protestants who are born again, they think we're even worse. And that's what we got told.
Amazing, isn't it? The last shower includes more than 500 years of history. It's a long time since that shower came down, but what long memories they've got, and really interesting. I didn't know that. So the Greek Orthodox claim a direct link to Constantine, even ahead of the Catholic Church. So a lot of tradition there, a lot of religion there, and that's always a battle. So once again, going there on a mission trip, you're really fighting a spiritual battle against that religious spirit, aren't you? Yeah, and the good thing about Greece too, Andrew, is that they prefer to speak English, because a lot of Greek people go to tutoring schools, and they want to get every English-speaking person they can and practice their English. Okay, so that's an opportunity to share. So really interesting, Jim. I want to just thank you so much for joining us on 2020 today. I want to remind our listeners of the website if they want to get in touch with the Rehab Centre Cafe in Athens and maybe visit if they're visiting Greece. It's called passagetolife.gr. That's passagetolife.gr. And Jim Bellis, the Australian coordinator for this wonderful ministry, I want to thank you for joining us on 2020 today.
Thanks very much, Andrew. My pleasure.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.